The desert wind howled across the red plains of planet Arcara. Dust and ash mixed in the air like smoke from an endless fire. The sky above was burnt orange, and nothing moved except for a lone human figure walking through the wreckage of a great battle. His name was Darren. He was a scout, trained to move alone across dangerous places. His boots crunched over metal debris as he stepped carefully between the ruins of alien ships. Most of the bodies had already been claimed by the wild winds or buried in sand. The war between humans and the Valeri had ended weeks ago, but silence in places like this was never safe. Darren wasn't here to fight. He had been sent by the Union to search for lost technology, secret codes, energy sources, anything valuable. But he found something else. Behind a broken pillar of dark silver metal, half buried in dust, he noticed movement, a weak sound like a breath. Darren raised his rifle slowly, eyes sharp, and stepped closer. Lying in the shadow of the wreckage was a figure tall and elegant, but broken. She wore black armor, cracked and scorched. Long silver hair was tangled with dirt. Her pale skin was bruised and scraped. Glowing lines across her arms flickered weakly. She looked up, eyes glowing faint violet. An alien. AVAELRE. Darren froze. He had never seen one this close before. They were taller than humans, graceful like shadows, and deadly in war. But this woman was bleeding. She tried to move, but failed. He lowered his weapon slightly, unsure what to do. His orders were to report anything alive, but something stopped him. Maybe it was the pain in her eyes, or maybe it was the soft sound she made when she spoke. "Don't touch me," she whispered. Her voice was cracked, barely a breath. Darren blinked. "You're hurt." Her eyes narrowed. "You are human. I know your kind. You bring fire and metal and lies." He didn't answer. Instead, he dropped to one knee, placing his rifle to the side. He didn't move closer. He just studied her injuries. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said slowly. "If I was, I'd have done it already." She didn't reply. Her head turned slightly, watching his every move. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small scanner. Carefully, he scanned the air around her. Radiation levels were high. Plasma burns on her leg. A cracked energy core near her chest. She was dying. "I need to clean that wound," Darren said, pointing to her side. Her voice grew sharper. "You are forbidden to touch me, human." He paused. Something in her tone was different, not just anger, but pride, like a rule too deep to break. "Fine," he said after a moment. "Then I won't touch you." He stood, gathered some pieces of cloth, wrapped them around a stick, and poured water over it. Slowly, carefully, he cleaned the burn without touching her skin. She winced but didn't stop him. The wind howled louder. A storm was coming. Darren looked at the sky. They couldn't stay here. "I need to move you," he said. "No, you'll die." "Then let me die." Darren stared at her. Something wasn't right. Most soldiers, human or alien, fought to live. But this one, she was waiting for death, or maybe hiding from it. He looked around and spotted a nearby canyon wall. There was a gap in the rock, large enough for shelter. He didn't ask again. He built a stretcher using metal rods and fabric from a crash pod. It took time. The storm clouds were almost above. When it was ready, he looked at her. "I'm going to lift you now," he said. She turned her face away. "I said, don't touch me. I heard you." He rolled the stretcher close and carefully used long rods to shift her onto it. Without direct contact, her breathing was shallow. She didn't fight. "Maybe she's could in single quotes t. Darren dragged the stretcher across the sand. The wind blew harder. Sharp dust cut across his skin. But he didn't stop. The canyon gave them cover. Inside, it was cooler and darker. He set up a small camp, using heat blocks to warm the space. He placed her gently against the wall and gave her water through a tube. She drank, eyes closed. Hours passed. When she woke again, she found him sitting nearby, watching the entrance. His rifle rested across his knees, but his eyes were tired, not dangerous. She studied him in silence. "You stayed," she said finally. He turned. "I didn't think you'd last the storm alone. Her lips curved into something between a smile and a frown. Still, a fool. Darren shrugged. Maybe. But I don't leave people behind. Even if they call me an enemy. She looked away. Her voice was low. You don't know who I am. No, he admitted. And maybe that's a good thing. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, in the quiet, something began to shift. Not peace. Not yet. But something close to understanding. The storm outside continued to rage. Wind screamed through the narrow canyon, throwing dust and sand against the rock walls. Inside the small shelter, Darren and the strange alien woman remained silent. Each lost in their own thoughts, Darren watched her carefully. She was resting now, her eyes closed tightly as if trying to shut the pain out. He did not know what to say or how to help her more. He felt the weight of the silence between them like a thick fog. After a while, she opened her eyes slowly. The light was dim, but her violet eyes shone faintly, filled with pain and suspicion. You do not trust me, she said softly. Darren shook his head. I don't trust you, he admitted, but I don't want to kill you either. She laughed, a dry, bitter sound. Why not? Humans see my kind as enemies. You would want me dead. Maybe, Darren said. But I also know war is not simple. People are not all good or all bad. She studied his face for a long time. Why are you here? What do you want from me? Darren looked away. I was sent to find something old Valeri technology, but I never thought I would find you. You're important, aren't you? She flinched at the word. Important? I was queen. But now, I am nothing. That is not true. Darren reached into his pack and pulled out some food and water. You are alive. That means something. She shook her head. You do not understand Valeri honor. I have failed my people. Then maybe I can help, Darren said. She laughed. Again, quieter this time. You cannot help a queen who is broken. For a moment, the canyon was silent except for the distant thunder. Darren took a deep breath. Tell me your name. She hesitated. Thalara. Thalara, he repeated. The name sounded strong, yet sad. I'm Darren. She did not answer. The wind howled again, shaking the thin walls of their shelter. Darren moved closer, but stayed, careful to respect her warning. I need to check your wounds again. You will touch me. He paused. Not if you don't want me to. Instead, he brought his tools closer, small scanners and sprays, and carefully examined her from a distance. Her breathing was shallow. The burns on her skin were worse than before. Your injuries are serious. He said, you need rest, but you also need to move soon. I do not want to move, she whispered. Then you will die here. Thalara closed her eyes. Perhaps that is what I deserve. Darren looked at her with sadness. No one deserves to die alone. She opened her eyes. You speak like a human who has seen much death. I have, he said, but I've also seen hope. Her face softened for a moment, but then she looked away. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed outside. The storm was getting worse. Darren stood quickly. We need to reinforce the shelter. Thalara watched him silently as he worked, gathering rocks and metal scraps to block the wind. You are strange, she said quietly. How? He asked, not stopping. You help an enemy. You did not ask for reward or reason. Darren smiled faintly. Maybe because I believe every life has value. She said nothing more. As night fell, the storm reached its peak. Lightning flashed outside, making shadows dance on the rocky walls. Darren sat beside her again, holding a small light. We should try to sleep, he said gently. She nodded. Neither of them spoke. But in the dark, something changed. Walls built by war and fear began to crack. Two enemies, forced together by fate, began to understand that maybe, just maybe, survival meant trust. The storm had passed by morning, leaving the canyon calm and quiet. Rays of sunlight filtered through the narrow opening above, warming the cold rocks and the small shelter Darren had built. Outside, the desert stretched wide and empty, but inside, the figures rested, one human, one alien. Darren woke first. He checked Thalara's condition carefully. Her breathing was more even now, and the color in her face had returned slightly. But she was still weak. and the wounds on her arm and side were painful to see. He remembered the strange glowing lines he had seen on her skin. Now, as she slept, the fabric of her torn armor had shifted, revealing something new and unusual mark on her shoulder. Curious, Darren reached out. Careful not to touch her skin directly, he pulled back a torn flap of her armor and saw the mark. Clearly a glowing symbol, shaped like a star surrounded by small circles. It pulsed faintly with light. Darren frowned. He had read about Valeri royalty, but he had never seen such a mark before. It was a royal insignia, sign that the wearer was a leader. Someone important. His heart beat faster. This woman was not just an alien soldier. She was a queen. Darren sat back slowly, thinking. If he told the Union about her, they would capture her immediately. She would be a prize and maybe a weapon. But Darren didn't want that. He looked at her sleeping face. She was hurt, tired, and alone. He felt a strange urge to protect her. When Thalara opened her eyes, the first thing she noticed was the flap of armor moved. She sat up slowly, watching him closely. "You saw the mark," she said quietly. Darren nodded. "I did." "You are queen." She sighed deeply. "I am, or I was. Your people must want you back." She shook her head. "No, they think I am weak. They want a new leader, someone stronger." Darren frowned. "Then why did you send a signal to them?" "To warn them," she replied. "To ask for help." "But I do not expect it." Darren thought about what this meant. The queen was betrayed by her own people, alone in the desert, wounded and hunted. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" he asked. "Because I feared you would turn me in," she said. "Humans do not trust Valeri, and Valeri do not trust humans." Darren looked into her eyes. "Maybe it is time to change that." She studied him, then gave a small, tired smile. "Perhaps." Suddenly, the sound of engines echoed in the distance. Darren stood quickly and looked toward the canyon entrance. Dust clouds rose far away. "Enemies?" Thalara whispered. "Not sure, but we need to prepare," Darren said, checking his rifle. Thalara struggled to stand but managed. Her strength was low, but her will was strong. "We fight together," she said, her voice steady. Darren nodded. "I will watch your back." As the dust storm approached, they readied themselves. To former enemies, bound by fate, stood side by side against the coming danger. The sound of engines grew louder. Dust and sand swirled in the distance as small ships flew low across the desert, heading straight toward the canyon. Darren narrowed his eyes and grabbed his rifle. Thalara stood beside him, breathing hard but holding her balance. "They found us," she said quietly. Darren nodded. "We have to move now." "But I can barely walk," Thalara said. Darren thought for a moment, then pointed toward a narrow path that ran along the side of the canyon. "We'll use the rocks to hide. If we keep moving, they might miss us." Thalara hesitated. "I'll slow you down. Then we'll go slow," Darren replied. He helped her without touching her skin, using a long strip of cloth as a support. She leaned on him slightly, her pride clearly struggling against the need for help. Together, they climbed the rocky path. Behind them, a squad of 3 hover bikes landed near the old shelter. The riders wore black armor with red markings. Desert Hounds, a mercenary group known for hunting anyone with a bounty. Thalara recognized them. "They're not soldiers, they're hunters." "Then they're after you," Darren said, glancing back. They moved faster. The sun beat down hard. Heat rose from the rocks, making the air shimmer. Thalara stumbled once, nearly falling, but Darren caught her just in time, still careful not to break her rule. "You're forbidden to touch me," she said breathlessly, almost like a memory rather than a command. "I remember," Darren said, with a small smile, "but I also remember that you're still alive." She gave him a sharp look but said nothing more. The path curved around a high cliff, opening into a deeper part of the canyon. There, they found a small cave hidden between sharp rocks. Darren helped her inside and crouched at the entrance, watching for signs of the hunters. Minutes passed, then footsteps, voices. "They went this way," one of the mercenaries shouted. Darren motioned for silence. Thalara stayed still, her breath shallow. The hunters moved past the cave entrance without seeing them. Darren waited until their voices faded before standing. "We can't stay long," he said. "They'll search everywhere." Thalara looked, pale, but her eyes were calm. "Then we fight." Darren turned toward her. "You still have strength." "I have enough to stand beside you," she answered. "That is all that matters." He nodded. "Then let's make it count." They left the cave and followed a narrow trail that led to the open plains. Darren knew of an old supply post not far ahead, abandoned, but still useful. If they could reach it, they might find weapons, food, or even a working beacon. As they moved, the sun began to fall. Shadows stretched long across the rocks. Thalara walked slowly, but with growing strength. Her armor was cracked, her hands bruised, but she did not complain. Darren glanced at her. "You don't seem like someone who gives up." She looked at him. "A queen never does, even when she walks alone." He smiled. "You're not alone now." For a moment, she looked away. Her voice was soft. "I was taught to hate humans. I believed we could never understand each other. And now, I see one who saved me, and did not ask why." They reached the top of a small hill. In the distance, a dark shape appeared the supply post. It was half buried in sand but still standing. "That's it," Darren said. Before they could move forward, a shot rang out. A blast hit the ground near them, sending dust flying. The mercenaries had spotted them. "Run!" Darren shouted. They dashed toward the post. Dodging behind rocks, more blasts followed. One nearly hit Thalara, but Darren shielded her with his body, the energy blast grazing his shoulder. He winced in pain but kept going. They reached the supply post just as night fell. Darren sealed the broken door behind them and checked his injury. The burn wasn't deep, but it hurt. "You're injured," Thalara said, stepping closer. "It's nothing," Darren replied. She looked at him, then slowly reached for a glowing crystal at her belt. She placed it near his shoulder. A warm light spread from it, easing the pain. "You said I couldn't touch you," Darren said quietly. She didn't look at him. "You saved me. I break my rule this once." For a long moment, they stood in silence. Outside, the mercenaries searched the darkness, unaware that inside the broken post, the former enemies were no longer just strangers. They were becoming something more. The night was still. Only the soft hum of broken machines echoed inside the old supply post. The walls were cracked. Wires hung from the ceiling, and sand covered most of the floor. But for now, it was safe. Darren sat near a dim light, carefully checking the old control panels. Most systems were dead, but a small power core still flickered just enough to send a signal. Behind him, Thalara stood in silence, watching. Her body was tired, but her mind was sharp. Her long silver hair fell around her shoulders, and her royal mark glowed softly in the darkness. "Will it work?" she asked. Darren nodded. "It might. The signal is weak, but someone could hear it if they're close." Thalara stepped forward. "Then I will call them." He looked at her. "Your people?" "Yes," she said. "If any loyal Valeri remain, they will come. And if not, I will know the truth." Darren hesitated. "Are you sure this is the right choice?" She closed her eyes. "I must try. A queen does not run forever." Darren stepped aside. Thalara reached toward the panel and touched it with glowing fingers. Her energy merged with the broken tech. Symbols lit up. A pulse went out clear and strong. "It is done," she whispered. They waited. Hours passed. Darren stayed close to the door, watching the desert. Thalara sat near the wall, deep in thought. "I was born in a sky palace," she said quietly, "high above the clouds. My people bowed when I entered a room. I gave orders that shaped battles. But now I sit in ruins, waiting for a voice." Darren didn't say anything at first. Then he turned to her. "Sometimes the strongest leaders are the ones who stand back up after falling." She looked at him with tired eyes. "And you, human, what did you fall from?" He gave a small smile. "I lost my squad. A year ago, trapped during a raid. I was the only one who made it back. I'm sorry. So am I just then." A soft beep came from the panel. Thalara rose quickly. A reply. She placed her hand on the console again. A voice came through distorted, but clear enough. Thalara, this is Captain Vec. We received your call. A rescue ship is on the way. Hold position. Her face lit up with hope. They're coming. Darren smiled. That's good news. But her face suddenly darkened. No. Wait. The signal changed. Another voice spoke cold, sharp. This is Lord Crane. By the order of the Council, Queen Thalara is to be taken into custody. Do not resist. Thalara stepped back. They betrayed me. Darren stood quickly. What's going on? They don't want me back, she said. They want to silence me. The Council believes I'm a symbol of failure. Then we have to leave, Darren said. It's too late, she whispered. Outside. Lights appeared in the sky. A sleek Valeri ship landed near the post, its engine silent, its design smooth and sharp like a blade. Darren grabbed his weapon. Get behind me. Thalara didn't move. She stood tall, her royal face calm. No, if this is the end, I will face it standing. The door opened. 3 tall Valeri soldiers entered, silver armor glowing, eyes hard. Behind them came a taller figure in dark robes. Queen Thalara, the robed figure said, you are to return with us. I call for aid, not rest, she said firmly. You are no longer fit to rule, he replied. You lost the war. You brought shame to the Valeri. Your time is over. Darren stepped forward. She fought for her people. She survived. That should mean something. The soldier raised his weapon. You will not speak, human. Thalara held out her hand. Stop. He speaks with my permission. There was silence. Then she looked at Darren. They will not listen to reason. Then, we fight. Before the soldiers could act, Darren threw a flash grenade, blinding them for a second. He pulled Thalara behind a wall as blaster fire lit up the room. Do you still have strength? He asked her. She nodded, her eyes glowing faintly. Enough. She raised her hand. A pulse of violet energy shot out, pushing the soldiers back. Darren followed with well-aimed shots, disabling their weapons, but not killing them. They ran for the back exit. More soldiers blocked their path. I'll hold them, Thalara said. You run. No, Darren said. We stay together, using teamwork. They fought their way out. Thalara's power, though weak, was focused. Darren's training and fast thinking kept them alive. Finally, they escaped into the desert. Running through the night wind. Behind them, the ship lifted off, failing to track them in the storm. Hours later, they found a hidden cave. There, they collapsed. Thalara looked at Darren. You could have left me, but you didn't. He breathed heavily. I don't leave people behind. Her eyes softened. Then maybe I was wrong about your kind. In the quiet, something new had been born, not just trust, but loyalty. The cave was dark and quiet. Cool air flowed through its narrow entrance, offering relief after the long escape. Darren lit a small lantern and placed it between them. Its soft glow revealed tired faces and bruised arms, but also something else. Trust. Thalara sat against the cave wall, her head tilted back, her breathing steady. Her silver hair fell over one shoulder. She looked like a warrior who had given everything but still refused to fall. Darren checked the cave for danger, then sat across from her. You should rest. I will. But first, I need to say something. He looked at her. I believed humans were liars, she said slowly. I believed they were selfish, cruel, and only loyal to their own kind. That belief helped me lead during war. It helped me stay strong. Darren didn't interrupt, but now, she continued. I see you one human who has risked his life more than once for someone who should be his enemy. I didn't see an enemy, Darren said softly. I saw someone who needed help. She met his eyes. Why did you stay, even after I told you not to touch me? Even after I refused to trust you? He smiled faintly. Because I saw someone worth saving. For a moment, there was only silence. Then Thalara looked down at the energy crystal on her wrist. It flickered weakly. My power is nearly gone. If I don't recharge soon, my body will shut down. There's a backup generator in my scout pod, Darren said. If we go there, maybe I can boost your energy with it. She raised her eyes. You will link your system to mine, yes, but that would connect our life signs. she said. If I fall, you fall too. I know, Darren said. Thalara looked away, then back at him. That kind of bond is sacred among my people. It is not meant to be shared between Valeri and humans. Do you trust me? He asked gently. She didn't answer right away. Then, slowly, she nodded. Yes, I do. The journey to the scout pod was difficult. Sandstorms had covered the path, and the heat returned with the rising sun. Darren walked in front, helping clear the way while Thalara followed, her steps slower now. She was running out of time. Finally, they reached a small ridge, and beyond it, half buried in the sand, lay Darren's pod, damaged, but still holding power. Inside, he activated the core. Lights flickered to life. Sit here, he told her, pointing to a padded seat. I'll connect the link. Thalara hesitated. Once the bond begins, we will be connected. You'll feel what I feel. Pain, fear, even memories. I'm ready, Darren said. She closed her eyes for a moment, then held out her wrist. Darren pressed his device against hers. A soft hum began. Blue light wrapped around their arms like glowing ribbons. Their eyes widened slightly at the connection, like a door opening between two minds. Thalara gasped. Darren saw flashes her memories, standing in a hall of crystal, giving commands to fleets, losing a sister in battle, standing alone as her people turned away from her. She saw his memories too. His squad mates laughing by a fire, then dying in smoke. His guilt, his long walks through silence. Tears welled in her eyes. You carry so much pain. So do you? Darren replied. The energy surged. Her wounds began to heal. The lines on her arms brightened. Her voice grew stronger. Then the light faded, and the bond was complete. She opened her eyes slowly. You're still alive. Darren smiled. Still here. Thalara looked down at their wrists. A small mark had formed, a circle around two lines, glowing faintly. We are bound, she said. Your life is now part of mine. I wouldn't want it any other way, Darren said. She looked at him, and for the first time, there was no fear or pride in her eyes, only quiet understanding. That night, they camped near the pod. The stars above were bright. A gentle wind moved across the sand. Thalara sat beside Darren, close enough to share warmth. My people won't understand this, she said. They won't accept it. Then we'll show them. He replied, we'll show both sides that peace is possible. She looked at him with a small smile. You truly believe that? I believe in you. She turned her face to the stars. Then maybe I can believe in myself again. The bond between them pulsed softly. Two lives, once divided by war, now walking one path, bound not by blood or command, but by choice. The next morning, the desert wind was calm. The sky above Arcara was clear, glowing gold as the sun rose. Darren stood at the edge of the small ridge, watching the horizon. Behind him, Thalara stepped out of the scout pod. She looked stronger now. Her skin had healed. Her energy lines glowed bright, and her steps were steady. The bond between them remained quiet but alive, like a soft flame shared between two hearts. They'll come again, Darren said, not turning. Thalara nodded. I know. They'll come for you. They always do. Darren turned to face her. What are we going to do? She stepped closer. We stop running. We make a stand not with fear, but with truth. You think your people will listen? They may not, she said. But I no longer speak for only the Valeri. I speak as someone who has seen both sides, someone who chose peace, even when war was easier. Darren watched her in silence, then nodded. Then I stand with you. Her voice was soft. Even if it costs your life, he smiled. You already share my life. She smiled back. It was small, but real. Later that day, a signal came through the pod's console. It wasn't from the mercenaries or the Valeri Council. It was from someone unexpected. General Ryan, a human leader known for his firm stance against aliens. Darren listened carefully. Scout Darren, the voice said, we've tracked your signal. We know you're with the Valeri. Stand down. Extraction teams are on the way. The alien must be handed over. Thalara stood beside him. They won't believe anything you say. They'll believe what they see. Darren replied. He opened the signal again and replied, "This is Scout Darren. I confirm that Queen Thalara is with me alive, well, and no longer a threat. She saved my life, and I saved hers. We are connected now. You want her. You'll have to go through me." There was silence. Then the voice came again, colder. "You're disobeying direct orders." "No," Darren said calmly. "I'm doing what's right." The signal cut off. Thalara looked at him. "You just made yourself an enemy of your own kind. Maybe, or maybe I just became something more." The sky darkened as evening came. A ship approached, not human, not Valeri. It was a neutral vessel run by peacekeepers. Word had spread. The bond between Darren and Thalara had reached beyond. War stories of the human who protected the alien queen were already being told in whispers across both sides. As the ship landed, a group stepped out: Valeri elders, human diplomats, and a small team of peacekeepers. Thalara walked forward. Alone, her voice was strong. "I am Thalara, once queen of the Valeri. I did not ask for my throne back. I asked for peace." One of the elders stepped forward. "Why should we trust you?" She raised her hand, revealing the glowing bond on her wrist. "Because I chose to bind my life to a human, not for power, but for survival, for truth." A human officer looked at Darren. "And you? Why did you protect her?" Darren stepped beside her. "Because she never gave up, even when she had every reason to. Because I saw a leader, not an enemy. And because peace starts with a choice." The group looked at them, some angry, some unsure, but some hopeful. Then an elder stepped forward. She placed her staff in the ground and bowed slightly. "Then let your bond be proof. Let the fire that tried to burn this world become light for a new path." Others followed, slowly. One by one. No cheers, no promises, but something stronger. Respect. Days later, Thalara stood at a quiet balcony inside a new outpost built for peace talks. She looked out at the stars. Darren stood beside her. "They still don't understand us," she said. "No, but they're listening." She turned to him. "I never imagined this. When I first saw you, I only saw a threat, a stranger. And now," she took his hand gently, willingly, "now I see the reason I'm still alive." He looked into her eyes. "You once said I was forbidden to touch you." She smiled. "You changed that." They stood together under the stars, no longer enemies, no longer symbols of war, but a queen and a soldier who chose each other when no one else would. And in their bond, the world found a new beginning, the end.